Hey everybody, this is Dieter with The Verge, and this is LG's new flagship phone. It's the G6, and what you should know about this phone is LG stopped trying to do gimmicks, and they've just made a really solid, good, reliable phone. The G6 is all about nailing the basics. This is a very straightforward, sturdy, surprisingly little phone. So the centerpiece of this phone is the 5.7-inch display, which goes very nearly edge to edge. And that's great because the thing is actually not much different in size from, say, a Pixel. It's actually a little bit smaller, yet it manages to fit a bigger screen in there. And LG's pulled that off with a couple of neat things. So you'll notice that the corners of the screen are curved. The screen itself is actually curved, and they do that to protect it so that when it hits, if you drop it, it's less likely to crack the screen because there's not a square edge right up against the edge of the bezel there. The other thing you should know about this screen is it is a 18:9 aspect ratio. It's super tall, or super wide if you will. And what that does is it enables a bunch of really clever tricks. So if you were to, say, multitask, you can actually see more of the two things on the screen because it is a much taller screen to work with. LG has also made a really neat camera app that they call Square Camera, where you take a picture on the top and it immediately shows you what you've taken a photo of on the bottom, so you can see if your Instagram shot is actually lined up the way that you want, which is really clever. Other things that are really just standard and straightforward about this thing, it is waterproof. It's IP68 waterproof. It has a bunch of different kinds of Gorilla Glass actually. On the front it's Gorilla Glass 3, which makes it pretty thin. On the back you have Gorilla Glass 4 over the lenses, which prevents it from scratching, and then a curved Gorilla Glass 5 back. Inside there's a 3300 milliamp battery, which is actually a little bit smaller than LG could have done, but they wanted to make this thing, again, reliable, sturdy. They say you'll get more than a day out of it. You'll also notice that the power button here is on the back, and of course there's a fingerprint sensor. And there are two cameras. There's a wide angle lens at 125 degrees and a standard lens at 71 degrees. And what that allows LG to do is have, you can either toggle the zoom mode here from wide angle to telephoto, or you could just zoom right in, and they say they've done a better job of not having a bounce between those scrolls. The other thing that's neat here, because they have this 18:9 screen, when you take a photo, your previews are like in a little carousel over here on the left rather than in a tiny thumbnail over there, so you can see what you're taking a picture of right away. Inside this thing in terms of specs, it's a Snapdragon 821 processor, which is not going to be probably the latest and greatest this year, but it still is a very good processor. It's got 4 gigs of RAM for running apps and 32 gigs of storage, and then of course there's expandable storage on the side here. So that's the LG G6. It's coming to the US, but we don't know prices or release dates or carriers yet. We do know that it's going to be available in black and platinum, but not white. The other thing to know about the US version is it's not going to have a DAC for high quality audio. Instead, what you're going to get is the 2 kinds of wireless charging on there, which apparently American consumers care more about. For much more of everything that's happening here at Mobile World Congress, you should check us out. We are The Verge. For much more about nailing the subscribe plug, there's a ton more news happening at Mobile World Congress, and if you want to, you're grimacing because you don't want to have to do the quick cut. I see it. See what's going on here? We're getting some outros. This is some like jokes for the end of the video that we're gonna put in. Want me to dance? Yeah. I'm not your monkey.